Good morning. Good
Good
morning.
morning, sir.
Sorry, I just got distracted by some kind of prompt that came up over here talking about. I guess we're not on Rumble right now. All right. Sorry. We are on YouTube and Twitter. Hello. Hello,
Good
sir.
morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm doing okay. I was not feeling too hot a couple days ago. I had a nasty sinus issue that my wife had. I got from her, and that's why I have this whole Terminator look thing going on here.
I was going to say, you got, what is it?
Well, I got this whole Terminator look going on here. Just red eye, sensitive. Just bad sinus stuff the past couple days.
Got it. Sinuses. Yes.
But aside from that, I'm doing good.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
All right. I had a bunch of. I'm a little out of sorts because I had some technical issues over in Bible every morning this morning, but we're all good. I
Awesome.
got in here late, but not that late. All right. So, as is our custom here, I tend to have no idea what our topic is. And so I hand it off to you. All right. New beginnings. Tell me. What are we talking about?
Well, within the past, I'd say 6 months, close to a year, we've seen a lot of people that are definitely patriots in our eyes get their livelihoods just ripped away from them. We've seen people very influential have their world shaken dramatically. Whether that be um, James from that Project Place or the Tuck from the Fox, it's very easy to see these people that we look up to and see how horribly they're treated. It's very easy for us to react in anger. It's very easy for us to react with bitterness, disgust, all these things. But what's really interesting, though, if you pay attention to what's happening with the Tuck, his whole mindset, if you look at recent photos of him, what he's doing now, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end. And that kind of inspired my whole topic for today called New Beginnings. We've all been there. We've all had those moments where we get comfortable. We're in a good job. We're in a good world. Things are good. And then all of a sudden, it's just gone. Whether we quit, whether we're fired, whether things just happen, that world ends. And I can speak from personal experience. When that world ends, it's very easy to be bitter. I wouldn't even say angry. I would just say bitter because bitter is, in my opinion, worse than anger because bitterness lasts longer. It festers and becomes very toxic to you, your loved ones, and you get so bitter at how you were treated, right? How you were let go, that the problem is it blinds you to the new opportunities that are right there in front of you. And if you don't open your eyes, if you don't pay attention and realize that God took you out of that world for a reason. He took you out of that world for a reason because he has something much better for you. But, we're human beings. We're flawed. We're broken. We're stupid. And so we let our bitterness blind us. And so here's the good news. Now that the Tuck is free from Fox, he's unstoppable. There's nothing preventing him from going full scorched earth. There's nothing stopping him. And so, anyways, I want to hear your thoughts on this. I'm sure you and I both have been through those moments where you're just let go and you don't know what to do at first. So, yeah, I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Good topic. I want to tell two stories, two kind of contrasting stories from my own personal experience. But before that, yeah, Tucker, as shocking as it was, right? It was. I mean, it's shock since shockwaves. I was saying this, I think, to Doug this morning on our show, that people cannot see, and you know, all of us are limited in our projecting forth the repercussions of our actions, right?
Right.
If I do this, what will be the repercussions, right? And so firing Tucker Carlson, it's like they're certainly looking at all the liability that Tucker causes for them. So, you know,
Mm.
lawsuits and having the entirety of the deep state apparatus opposed to you, right? Fox is like, wait, we just want to be a network and not discuss the hard issues. And Tucker's like, nope, going straight in. I'm taking you headlong into the heart of the matters. And they're like, nope, you go do that on your own. And that's where it is. It's like, so for Tucker, I immediately, like, obviously the shock, it inconveniences me because I had a whole like 40 minutes of my day cut out where I would listen to Tucker every day. And now in the time slot, I'm like, what do I mean, I'm listening to more preaching, more sermons, right? So that's a good thing. But I immediately thought of Tucker himself because he was blindsided by it. It was not expected, at least not in, you know, I'm sure in the back of his mind, he's like, I'm going to keep pushing this for a while. I don't know how long I'll be able to do it. But
Right.
when it happens, it's shocking. But what I knew the case was, because you know you can curl up in a ball and cry yourself to sleep every night and all day the next day and just not be able to get out of fetal position, right? And I think that's
Right.
what Don Lemon's probably going through. That Tucker's the opposite, right? Don Lemon has no platform, he has no voice, he's gone, he's going to fade into obscurity because he has some kind of brain rot. He's believing lies and his brain is rotting in his head, and he can't speak coherently because he just doesn't know anything. He's just a face, a pretty face, and now he's gone. And that's all he had was the platform giving him a voice.
Right.
Tucker, however, he's
Opposite.
the opposite. So what I envisioned Tucker feeling was what I have felt when it happened to me. Absolute peace, right? This grace, right? This sudden shock. It's shock to the system. Here's the life I live. We go through this grind. I meet with my producers. We show prep, and then we go on the air and we do it, and then we answer emails and phone calls, and the next day we do it again. Right? It's invigorating. It's a grind. It's something he felt fulfilled in, obviously. But then it's all taken, and it's like my whole life, like it's a clean blank slate. And when you're a good guy and all you want to do is truth and you believe in Jesus, you get this incredible grace. And it's like, it's this peace and joy. And when Tucker put out his tweet, I think it was on Tuesday, and he released it at 8:01, he tweeted like a 2-minute video. Did you see that video?
Yeah, didn't it get like millions and millions of views like within
So
a few hours?
I caught it about an hour and a half after he had posted it, because I always, you know, I'm at work when Tucker's on, so I always check in with him afterwards. So it was about an hour and a half after he had posted it, and at that point, only an hour and a half in, it had 2.7 million views, and it's now approaching 100 million. I think it's maybe surpassed 100 million. So that's the proof in the pudding. Like Tucker, and what's the beautiful thing at the end of the video is like, see you soon, and I was like, oh yeah. So it's that now a couple quick, try and make these quick stories of my personal experience. So I worked at this production company, and it was in my transition from being like an assistant editor or a junior editor into being a full editor, right? The role. And it was a friend of mine that was kind of the boss at this little production company, a friend from church. I almost hate to even say that, because then what happened in this story, it was a guy that I knew, not close. You know, we'd had dinner with them before, et cetera. And he hired me over to kind of take over for these other two editors that were there that didn't know what they were doing. And so I came in and I became like the main editor, supervising editor, but I was getting paid below the editor rate. Right. So I was on my transition from, I was a junior editor at a place, and then he brought me in. And so it was a promotion or a raise, but it was still below the full editor rate. Right. I'm like, okay, it's a friend. We're going to work together and we're going to make this thing happen. And I was brought in, and that relationship with him, like for some reason, I don't know, it changed. And I kept recommending things because this production company was boutique, whereas I'd worked in television, right? I knew how the process worked, and this little production company hadn't really done. It was doing, opening credits for some movies or TV shows, et
Right.
cetera, and then we were doing, kind of building our own little thing. And I kept saying, I would say to the bosses, I'm like, oh, we need to hire an assistant editor or a couple assistant editors. We need to do this or do that, and they would ignore me and they wouldn't do it. And so this frustration started building. I'm like, I don't understand what's going on here. And then they started growing and hiring more editors, hiring editors under me. Then
I
we
see where
grew.
this is going.
Yeah. So we grew to about a staff, about 4 or 5 editors. And I had cards supervising editor, and I would be friends with these guys, and some of them worked, it's kind of a small world. And so we would talk, and I'm like, really, you're working here? And I was pushing to get my rate, the full editor rate. And I was
Right.
finding they were hiring these guys under me for twice what I was making. And I'd been there for a couple of years already. And so my pay had increased slightly. And now they were hiring people over me.
Yeah.
And so that bitterness that you were talking about, when you get fired from a place or something, don't allow the bitterness to creep in. Well, this bitterness was creeping in before. It was like there was this, my going to work. I loved my job. I hated that I was not respected there. And so it was just this tension. But it was the first editor gig that had benefits. Like I have a contract with these people and I have health benefits, whereas a lot of, reality TV shows and stuff like that I'd worked on, you're a freelancer, you don't get benefits. You're a freelancer.
Oh, really?
And so it was like, okay, I'm going to keep this job, even though other people are making more than I am. I've got these benefits and I blah, blah, blah. And then one day I show up at work and I'm escorted out. I'm called into the office. They'd hired a couple people, and somebody was like kind of a supervisor over me, and they brought that person in, and they're like, this is your last day or something. They said it to me as if I understood why it was happening.
Right.
There was nothing. There was no event. It was like there was no thing that happened for me to get fired. I'm like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. In fact, so then they had somebody accompany me to my desk so that I didn't steal anything or do anything. And then I went around to each of the editors that I'd worked with, some of them for a couple of years. And I said, today's my last day. It's been nice working with you. And to the last person there, they looked up, totally shocked. There was nothing in the culture, aside from my internal frustrations, that I had done to be fired. Right. And I'm telling you, it's the best thing that could have happened to me. It was just really, really frustrating when it happened. I'm like, wait, what? I don't understand. But I went from that straight, like within a year of that, I got on the show I'm on now, winning an Emmy, stuff like that. Right. This was this little boutique, little production company doing nothing for, nobody knows, and to getting the best job I've ever had.
Right.
So that's one case. And then another case is on that best job I ever had. When I first started working, I was freelance there, and there were 2 shows. I got to make this real short. I don't want to bore you guys with this, but there were 2 shows that I worked on freelance, and one of them went away. Like in TV land, shows go off the air. And so one of the 2 shows that I was on went away, which means half of my shifts were gone, but also those staff editors, because there's staff editors and freelancers, and I was a freelancer. The staff editors on the show that went away now leapfrogged me over on the other show to take any shifts that I would have had. So it wasn't just half of my shifts going away; it was all of them going away. But I had a 4 or 5 month notice. Right, I knew this was going to happen. So this is a contrast. The other one was like, it was that day, I was gone that day, and I was. Well, I did sue them. You don't sue people in Hollywood, but I knew I could sue them, and because I had a contract, they were violating the previous job.
Yeah.
And I got a settlement, right? So that was a good thing. But this other one, it was normal. I was a freelancer, and when a show goes away, you're gone. You're not in a contract. And so I was praying. I'm like, okay, God, this is either, now that I have 4 or 5 months to plan, I'm either going to go look for another job, or you have something else for me, and I got to pursue that. Either I'm going to work for somebody else, or I'm going to find my own thing. And that's what led to losing that job and all of that what am I supposed to do next? Seeking the Lord led to me acquiring the intellectual property that is now that I now own and that I'm in development on. And so God has a plan.
Right. Yeah.
There.
On that same topic, my wife, right? So we got married January 2020. Yeah, great year to get married. And it's before everything shut down. No one knew anything. Fast forward to May. So by then, everything was already pretty much shut down. Well, she had a kidney stone, and it was bad. And her and I both are stubborn people. And she was like, it's fine, it's fine. Well, it got to the point where she couldn't even hold down water. And I was like, no, we're going to the hospital. I don't care. Well, this is in May 2020. So I couldn't go in the hospital with her because, everything was just shut down.
Wow, yeah.
And so come to find out, she was this close to going septic. And just within 48 hours, she would have been gone. So, we went there at the right time. She went there, she got surgery, she came out, and she was on medical leave from her job. She was in this job for about 5 years. She worked in the aviation industry. We had that in common. And after she healed up, she got back to work virtually. Okay. And she was at work for like a week, couple weeks. And basically, right when she got back to work, she got that email, that notice. Hey, even though you've been great to us, even though you've been loyal to us, we've hired new people who aren't as experienced as you, and we're going to let you go. Typical corporate stuff. Let me tell you, the rest of that year was very hard for us. Financially, we were fine. My job, I was still teaching, and we were okay. It was hard because she had that bitterness, and she held on to that. And it was hard because we're a newlywed couple. We're brand new in all of this. And it's only by the grace of God that we got through it. Because I think she got hired onto other jobs. She worked for the USDA for a year. She worked for another company for a little bit. About a couple years later, year and a half later, she came home one day. She was exhausted. She was frustrated. She was still hanging on to that bitterness from the other job. And she asked me, she was like, honey, are we okay if I just don't work? And I was like, yes, we've been okay. We will be okay. And I think that was her moment. She left, and that was God telling her, I need you to be a wife.
Oh.
I need you to be a wife. And since then, dude, I can tell you, it's been over a year now. And it's been fantastic. Of course, like all couples, we have our ups and downs, of course, but that bitterness is gone, completely gone. And I think she realized God needed me to stop working so that I can be a wife. Because her whole life before me, she was the breadwinner. She was the worker. She was in a previous marriage, right?
Mm.
She was the person who brought home the bacon. And she was so used to that. So when she couldn't do that, right? That was so, not normal to her.
Shock to the system.
Exactly. Literally and figuratively. So, yeah, basically, I completely understand where you're coming from. But when those things end, they're simply new beginnings.
Right. It's because God is in control, right? Because he sees everything and we don't. And when he sees it coming, he knows what's going to happen. And then when it happens, we tend to be like, "But this is my life. This is, and God's like,
No, it's not.
nope, nope,
Yeah.
wake up. Yeah. So I've been spending a lot of time meditating on, that, like, what is God up to in my life, right? What is this path I'm on? And I it's all in story form, right? Here's the thing: we live our lives, but our lives are a story, and that's I think why reality TV is caught on so hugely, even though the majority of reality TV is scripted
Reality.
and scripted and forced and putting people in circumstances they would never normally be in. But
Yeah.
the reality side of reality TV is the human reactions are honest, right? They're not always pre-programmed. They try to get the honest, normal human reactions from people.
Right.
But that's a tangent I didn't want to go on. But looking at my life, and here's the story. Like, here's obviously that we're at some juncture in this story. It's an eternal story, but I feel like God sent me on a journey, kind of like Abraham when he said, "Go to the place I will show you." Well, not kind of
Right.
like Abraham, exactly like
Yeah.
Abraham. God
Yeah.
has a journey for you, and he's not going to tell you the destination.
Right.
I mean, we're supposed to know the ultimate destination, but the particulars of your journey, we're not supposed to know, but God knows. And so we just have to trust in him. And so the journey I'm on, I was following what I like, the instinct, not like intuition. Like, these are things God designs us with to lead us, according to his purposes. Like, if you are godly, your heart is in the right place, you love him, and from that place you do an assessment. What am I supposed to be doing with my life? What do I feel like doing? What do I want to do? What is fulfilling to me? And I'm like, I always, since I was 7 years old, thought I was supposed to work in Hollywood. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to pursue it. And I was like, told part of my story here and there, but I was like 35 years old or 33 years old when I decided, all right, it's time to try and get into Hollywood. I was 35 when I got my foot in the door. It's like, wow, that's kind of late. Well, Moses was 40 when he left Egypt and 80 when he came back. So I'm ahead of schedule for if you compare me. But here's, in story form, I feel like God sent me. He said, go over there to Hollywood, and when you're there, then you're going to figure out why you're there. And so I wandered into Hollywood, and I stumbled across something in Hollywood, a story that had never been told. And I didn't find it in Hollywood. I was in Hollywood. And because I was in Hollywood, I found the story. And it's a story that Hollywood can't tell.
Right.
I won't go into the details, but Hollywood can't tell this story properly. For example, Angelina Jolie got the rights to that Zamperini book. I don't know if you remember that World War II prisoner of war vet, something Zamparelli. And she made a movie.
Yes, the movie was Unbreakable. Unbroken.
Yeah.
My dad has the book, and he was able to call the actual guy before he passed away and talk to him one-on-one. Yeah.
So a perfect example, that guy, that's a God story, right? That is like an incredible, miraculous testimony. And Hollywood takes it, and there's no mention of God. There's that part of the story is left. All these incredible things he went through, they try to make them significant, but without God, that story falls flat and it fails. And that's why I say this story, on this journey, I had to go this way. God sent me over there, but I had to go the path that I went in order to me to find this. Like, I crossed this field, the parable of the guy walking across the field, stumbles across the buried treasure, goes and sells all he has to buy the field. That's the story that most I most relate to or identify with.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, but he sent me here to take it. Like, I had to go into the heart of the beast to grab the most valuable thing and then remove it from the heart of the beast. And so now I'm literally at the beginning stages of creating it the way God wants it created outside of Hollywood, but I can pull all the talent from Hollywood and make it this way. I mean, that This Way Network, that is the meaning of This Way Network, is I'm following God and I'm doing things according to what I just sensed God, the way God wants it done. And he is the way. And so this is the way. And that's where the origin of This Way Network, or This Way Pictures, is the production company that owns intellectual property, blah, blah, blah. All right. Sorry. A long story to say that we're all in the middle of a story that God has pre-scripted for us.
Right.
And it's not fatalist to say that. It's he created the desires of your hearts. You should follow them because he made them there, put them there for a reason.
Right. Well, this is actually a wonderful tangent. So, what is going to happen? You already know this. I'll let all the viewers know now. On June 1st,
Mhm.
I will be applying for South Lake, Texas Police Department. This is something that took me a year to decide. And I know there's pros and cons to all of it, sure. But on that story, it took me about a month ago to realize this. Everything I've been through was God preparing me for this. My time in the military, my time as a teacher. I've been to the college. I've gotten my degrees. I know how to think. I know how to de-escalate. I know how to handle every situation out there with old people, young people. All these things I've realized God has put in my way to prepare me for this career that I'm going to be applying for June 1st. And lastly, my biggest dream was to become a husband. I've accomplished that dream.
Mm.
And so that was the final check that was the final, check in the box. And so now this is an opportunity that I will be going for, and I feel so at peace about it. I don't feel nervous. I don't feel scared. I know that it's exactly where I need to be because looking at the past, that story, right? So yeah, that's what's going to happen. In June 1st, I'll be applying, and we'll see what happens.
So you, when you apply, is there like a battery of physical examinations, or how
Yeah.
does this work?
Well, it's about a 6 to 8 week process, and you go through a basic physical examination, a psych eval, interviews, a lot of stuff. Um, and this department has very high standards, which that's why I want to go for this department. But yeah, South Lake, Texas, that's where I work at already, and so I'm literally going down the street.
Nice.
I've already told my students, and they're super excited for me. And I told them I've been an advocate for you in the school. Now I can be an advocate for you in the community. And once I told them to it like that, they love it.
Nice.
So,
Do you have any context there that you knew beforehand, or is this kind
actually,
of
my wife does
okay?
from long, long ago. I forgot how, but yeah, she does. But that's it. That's my
It's
story.
well, so it's exciting and terrifying, right? It's
Yeah.
both, right?
Yeah.
It's new beginnings are God ordained. It doesn't make it easy, right? It's that why did God not tell Abraham where he was going? So they would depend on him, right? If we tend to, figure it try to figure or think we can figure it all out, we get
Yeah.
advanced information, we start building upon them like this is like no. You don't know what's coming, so that you have to cling to him, always, like he is your
Right.
guide and your protection.
Right.
um I'm excited for you.
Thank you.
I'm a little jealous too. I mean, I that's literally one of the most respected, or should be one of the most respected careers, right? It's
Mhm.
like people don't understand. People take it for granted that we live in a relatively safe society. We have, because of our Christian foundations, but
Mhm.
all of the infrastructure that has arisen as a result, those institutions like law enforcement, right?
Mhm.
Those are the good guys
Right.
by definition, the good guys, and now they're being vilified. And so
Mhm.
it's a sign of, well, in your case, we all know it's a sign of good character. Like, well, I would want to live in a town where you were the cop.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So
Yeah, just
all
treat
of
people
those,
like human beings, shocker.
yeah. And you have
Right.
a wealth of life experience. You're not a rookie in life, right? You've
Right.
you've been through some stuff, and so it gives you an advantage. Oh, then I wanted to go in another direction, but we're out of time. All right, Ben,
What's
why don't
that?
you why don't you give us a 30-second mini monologue here on.
Got it. Patriots, when things don't go your way, guess what? It's okay. God's in charge. He's doing this for a reason, and this is not the end. This is simply a new beginning. Never surrender, never submit.
Never surrender, never submit, and begin. And remember, it's a new beginning of forever.
Nice. Nice.
Today is the first day of the rest of your life. Happens to be eternal life, so put that in your hat and wear it or whatever. Yeah, these do need to be an hour, Carrie. All right. Love you. I gotta get to work.
No.